on the live line with us, Miles Kristen. He is one of the young renegades that had such a large impact at the fight for freedom in 2011 that was sadly crushed by corporate money. But Miles has been keeping his camera on at the Wisconsin State Capitol, and he's going to give us a little update today. Miles, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sly.
All right, a report from the field. Who's been going in and out of that beautiful building?
Well, a lot of the former politicians turned lobbyists like John Gard, they have an extreme ability to lobby that other lobbyists don't even have.
He was the Speaker of the Assembly in the aughts, but left in January 2009.
Yes, and he ran against Steve Kagan for the 8th Congressional District and lost both times.
Actually, it might have even been earlier. He might have been gone in 2007. Wait a second. When did he leave? When did Kagan beat him? Kagan was in for, 2007?
2006.
Yeah, well, yeah. The race was 2006, but I'm just saying he's been gone since 2007.
Yeah, and he lobbies now for his own business group, but he also was lobbying for Marquette, and he's also working with a group called American Federation for Children, which now employs Scott Jensen, the felon. They recently hired Jeff Fitzgerald, and once you're a politician, you're allowed to enter the vestibule of the Capitol, and you can see John Gard walking in and out of the vestibule, in and out of Robin Voss's office all the time.
So these are two former speakers that are that have carte blanche at the Capitol.
They have special access to the Capitol, and you go to the Capitol, especially when the Assembly is in session, and you will see all sorts of different politicians out in the hallways meeting with lobbyists. For instance, Mike Coolidge was meeting with guys like McCosh.
McCoshen? Bill McCoshen?
McCoshen. The former
Chief of Staff for former Chief of Staff for Tommy Thompson.
Exactly. And now they're lobbying Mike Coolidge on this thing called the Enridge Sandpiper Pipeline Project. They're looking to put a pipeline through northern Wisconsin, and they're lobbying Representative Coolidge while he's supposed to be on the floor of the Assembly, and I got some footage of that the other day.
Do you put this up online?
I do. I have a YouTube channel, just Miles Kristen, MilesKristan, and I've been putting up a lot of footage, not just my footage over the last few months at the Capitol of catching these lobbyists and politicians, but I've got footage going back as far as when the Iraq War started.
You've really stayed kind of vigilant about anniversaries when it comes to the Iraq War and anything having to do with war. You were escorted out of an event at the Monona Terrace when you brought up the war when Hillary Clinton was running for president in 2008. She, of course, voted for that war. Kind of explain how you got into the whole business of following these people and then, at least putting an eye on them and putting a light on what they're doing.
Well, back in 2003 when the Iraq War started, I lived in Door County, Wisconsin, and I was the only person going out protesting the war, and I started carrying a camcorder with me, and I actually borrowed another camcorder from the school, and then they threatened to sue me if I ever used any of the footage, which I, of course, have used the footage anyway. But I started back in Valentine's Day of 2004 with my interview of Dennis Kucinich, which I went on to interview him 5 more times after that, and I interviewed Russ Feingold that summer, and then went on and interviewed him 5 more times, and then back in 2005 I started dressing up and going to the Republican Lincoln Day dinners and interviewing guys like Representative Gary Buys and Representative John Gard and so forth, and so I've been interviewing politicians for about a decade now.
Miles, what do you hope to accomplish with this?
Independent journalism. I mean, just showing politicians as they really are, and I love catching them off guard. I don't usually like asking them for an interview. I just go up to them and start asking them questions, and especially ask them questions that they aren't usually asked. Normally, politicians are only being asked the question of the week. I like to ask them, more random questions that they don't normally get asked.
What sort of reaction have you had from some of these politicians?
A lot of times, they get a little shocked and they don't know what to say, and they say the first thing that's on their mind, and, sometimes there's a little bit more honesty in that.
Do any of them kind of fight back and treat you rudely?
The funny thing is, when I first started filming politicians, a lot of times it was the Republicans who were actually more willing to talk than the Democrats. And, somebody once said that to me, that it's because the Republicans are open capitalists and the Democrats are closet capitalists. But I don't know. I mean, it's actually one time the only time I've actually been physically pushed for trying to interview with somebody who wasn't even a politician. It was when musician Michael Franti came to town, and I tried to ask him some questions because he used to be a big anti-war advocate, and then he kind of sold out and started writing songs for politicians, and then he physically pushed me and threw me up against a wall a couple months ago for trying to film him on State Street.
Let me ask you about what you think of what happened with Mike Ellis and James O'Keefe at the Inn on the Park. The Appleton Post-Crescent was very angry about it. They called it sleazy journalism. Do you think that was sleazy journalism?
Oh, no. And but I do have to make this very clear. The hotel is the Inn at the Park. The bar is Jerome's. I always want to emphasize that. That's the name, because it's really like Republican politicians were doing sleazy things at Jerome's, But no, you think of all the incidences that have happened with these politicians at that bar. Repeatedly, they go and get drunk at that bar and say stupid things on camera. You think there would be somebody inside the Republican Party telling them, like, hey, stop getting drunk at this bar. Everybody knows you hang out here. But yeah, I mean, Ellis, Voss, all of these guys, it's just ridiculous the amount of stuff they've been able to get away with over the years.
All right, so even though you probably don't share many political things in common with Mr. O'Keefe, you don't have a problem with what he did.
Mr. O'Keefe?
Yeah,
the journalist.
Yes, the journalist that shot the footage.
No, there should be more, more secret footage going on like that. These are politicians, especially when they're in public. People should be filming the things they're doing and saying. All right.
And you've worked on some other projects. You did some work in Texas for a while, is that right?
Yeah, I interviewed the Libertarian presidential candidate Gary Johnson, who, it was very interesting. He was in favor of legalizing marijuana. He was in favor of gay marriage. He was against, giving money to other, all this foreign aid we give to other militaries and so forth. He was opposed to the Federal Reserve. I'm not a libertarian myself, but I do think people should listen to what libertarians have to say and have an honest debate with them. And sometimes you can find more in common with a libertarian than, say, a pro-war Democrat like Hillary Clinton or something. Right.
Again, where do people go if they want to look at some of the work that you've done? And the stuff with John Gard is amazing.
Miles Kristen, MILES, KRISTIN. I've got, about 80
on
videos
Facebook?
up.
This is Facebook?
YouTube. I mean, you can find me on Facebook
YouTube
as
channel.
well.
Okay, it's on YouTube. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's great. It's great what you're doing. You're fearless about it, because some of them get a little heated. And when they tell you to get a job, what do you say?
I have 3 jobs. I have 2 jobs, and I own my own business. And one thing I want to say is that term, like, get a job hippie, I've heard that for 10 years of protesting, often owning my own business while doing that. So it really does upset me when people out there give credence to that. Some people out there are, living off PayPal, saying, hey, I'm an activist, give me money, living off PayPal. And it's like, hey, you're giving credence to that thing. And especially when people are taking in money and spending it on, cigarettes and alcohol and tattoos, there are some people out there doing that. And I think that's really disgusting that people would, take money that should be going to better activist causes. Because I'm saying there's groups out there like the Iraq Veterans Against the War. There's groups of independent journalists out there doing real work. Fund those sort of things, not like somebody's trust fund tattoo cigarette alcohol account, like some people who like to make the name off of themselves for being involved in activism. Celebrity activism is bad.
Fair enough. Miles Christian, thanks for coming on with us tonight.
No problem.
Appreciate
Bye-bye.
it. Have a great day.